Hi and welcome to the Geek Legion of Doom. This is an action movie review and I'll be having a look at Hamburger Hill. So Hamburger Hill is a Vietnam film and this came around the same sort of time as the more well-known Platoon and Full Metal Jacket. I personally feel this film gets a little bit shafted in that respect because it kind of is almost forgotten when you think of Vietnam films. And I think there's probably two reasons for that. The first one is that there's not really any big names in this cast. The biggest name you've got is Dylan McDermott, and he wasn't anyone, to be honest with you, at that point. And you've got John Cheadle, and again, he just wasn't a name at the point in when this film came out. And they're, to be honest with you, the two biggest names that are in this film. The second thing, I actually think this plot is very, very basic. The actual story of this film is incredibly basic. And again, I don't think that helps because it wasn't really seen as a particularly good story as such. Now, the actual talking of the story, really the first half an hour focuses on sort of getting to know the troops you're going to be seeing in the film, and then the latter part of the film, the rest of the film, really focuses on the struggle to take this particular hill in Vietnam, nicknamed Hamburger Hill. Now, and that's pretty much it. That is literally the story. Is pretty much just these guys going up this kind of like huge hill in the sort of really bad conditions, in the sort of pouring rain a lot of the time, fighting the sort of enemy who are sort of picking them off one by one, and the sort of the struggles that they face really. Like I say, the plot is very basic. There's not a lot to it in regards to plot. I mean, does it have to be? Not necessarily. You know, some films benefit from having a kind of a basic plot. Now, this film is regarded to be probably one of the most realistic depictions of Vietnam. However, I think as a film, it does suffer a little bit because of that. Because, as I say, the plot is so slight. As a film, you know, it isn't maybe the most complex of films to watch. And I'm not saying I'm not taking anything away from what it's done, but I think that's an issue for when you're watching it as a kind of just as a narrative. The other main issue I have with this is exactly has the same problem, and that is, for me, the main issue with this one is the characters that we see. I don't think are particularly well defined. Let me explain what I mean by that. So when you sort of get to know the sort of characters, the first sort of half an hour of this film, you know, we see various different sort of soldiers getting introduced. There's some new recruits that are sort of added to the existing platoon and what have you. But when we actually see the sort of the rest of the film, when they're going up the hill, you know, a lot of these characters get killed, and I just couldn't tell who was who a lot of the time. And when you come to the end of this film, they have the credits. They actually show you like pictures of the characters by the names, and I thought, what happened to that guy? I don't remember what happened to him because they're just not very well defined as characters. I didn't think. Now, like I said, I'm not saying that they were badly portrayed or it wasn't like a realistic depiction of what the soldiers were doing. But for a film, I didn't think it brought enough of the actual characters of the soldiers to make them kind of individual and memorable. Some of them it did. A couple of them were kind of memorable, but not all of them. They kind of just disappeared and kind of just almost seemed like just random sort of extras almost. The other small problem I had with this film is the music. The music for this film, or the score, is not played very often, but when it does play, it's ridiculous. It sounds like a sci-fi film soundtrack, and I don't understand why they chose to go this particular route in this film. On the very kind of the end battle, if you like, there's kind of a scene where they're just nearly at the sort of at the top of the hill, and this music's playing, and it's so distracting. All I could do was just listening to this music and thinking, this music is so terrible and so doesn't suit what's actually happening on the screen at the same time. And also, again, if you listen to the sort of the initial kind of theme at the beginning of the film, it sounds like a sci-fi film, like a military sci-fi film, but nevertheless a sci-fi film. So, like I said, the positives of this film, this is a brutal film in regards to, you know, the horrors of war and its depictions specifically of what happens in Vietnam, and you do get a genuine sense of what these guys faced, you know, over there, and how sort of difficult it was, and the kind of the banter that you had between the soldiers seemed very realistic to me, and kind of, you know, the relationships between them, and there was like, you know, tempers flaring and things like that, and different sort of aspects. Obviously, there's quite a lot of racial sort of tension going on there at this point in time, being it in, I think, 1969. So, it was a decent film, but I understand maybe why it's not thought of in the sort of same respects as kind of Full Metal Jacket and Platoon. And that, as I say, like I mentioned previously, I believe the story isn't memorable, and there's no big names in there, but I think probably this is a better representation of what it's actually like. So it's a difficult film, because I think probably this film is probably one of the most realistic films of Vietnam, but as a film, it kind of maybe falls a little bit down because of that ultimately. So I'm going to give this one a 7.5 out of 10. What did you think of it? How did you feel it compares to the other sort of Vietnam films? Leave me a comment and look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.